All right, I now call Budget and Finance Committee to order. I do detect a quorum with myself present, Councilwoman Allen. Well, I was just looking at Councilwoman Allen, Councilman Druffel, Councilwoman Evans Siegel, Councilwoman Gamble, Councilman Gregg, Councilman Huffman, Councilwoman Johnston, Vice Chair Spain. All right. So we have some folks who are signed up for public comment. Pursuant to Council Rule 28, the public comment period at committee meetings is limited to items that appear on the committee agenda. All public comment speakers must present proof of tenancy residency. We had some confusion with the sign up earlier, but we have figured it out we're required to balance out the viewpoints that are presented. So we're pretty sure we have that figured out. And you do have 2 minutes to speak, and a total public comment period is 8 minutes. First, we have Mr. Steve Ritter speaking on Bill 2025-1113, requesting a deferral. Mr. Ritter, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the council. Yes, I am requesting a deferral. I see that the public hearing is scheduled for December. And the problem that I have that is if you pass that here and it passes council tomorrow night, then the public hearing, this is not a zoning matter, so it is not amendable on third reading. And so I think for the public to have the opportunity to be heard and maybe potentially amend some of the terms and conditions of this contract, you're basically tying the public's hands. So I think in the legislative process, in this sort of situation, what we should do is defer this and have the public hearing first and then have the second reading. Because the way it's structured here is kind of backwards, really. And I just don't think this is the way to go forward. Also, I think there's some other speakers that want to talk about the budget, since they are going out there and taxing property owners. The budget should come before you for your consideration. And that hasn't been done in all of my time that I've been here. And I don't know, Metro Legal should be on top of that because that's their job to advise you on these sort of things. And yet there's never been a budget. And yet that is a contractual requirement from my understanding. So I would respectfully, again, just ask for a deferral at this meeting so it can come before you at a later date and we can have a robust discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. All right, next we have Mr. Mike Lacey speaking in regard to Bill 2025-1113, requesting a deferral. Mr. Lacey, you're recognized.
I wanted to echo Mr. Ryder's concerns about this coming to vote before there's public input, and wanted to also frame this in the context of that the current bids are, as you mentioned, out of compliance in that they've had revenue passed to the management corporations for over 21 years without any authorization. And while that's on one hand also just, poor governance and causes these funds to be used in ways that are unaccountable, it actually, and I think that this needs to be brought to folks' attention, creates what's called an ultra vires procedural claim potentially against the city for the clawback of these funds. Were someone in one of these districts who has had their assessment or the sales tax where that's applicable taken from them for the past 21 years passed through without authorization, one could file suit against the city potentially. So I think that considering that this is a copy and paste of the language, like I went ahead and looked and it's actually basically verbatim besides the date that they will provide that budget, it's very concerning and creates the same liability loophole. And the fact that the council and the council member presenting it hasn't actually presented the budget for the current fiscal year to clean up for what's going on, and you're continuing to be out of compliance, any suits that people file will have potentially more credibility because you've not taken action to remedy that. So before going out and making more bids with the same structural language in there, you might want to consider deferring and talking to some outside legal counsel before we put ourselves on the hook for more lawsuits. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lacey. Next on the list, we have, and I'm sorry, I can't read the handwriting, Emily Schnella, speaking on Bill 2025-1113, speaking in support. And if you could please give the correct pronunciation of your name, I apologize. You're recognized.
You were really close. It's Emily Schneller. So I am Emily Schneller. I am a resident of Demumbrian Hill who also has an office on Music Row. I serve and represent the board of the Rhythm of Music Row condos. Having lived and worked in the area for nearly 15 years, we've seen a lot of change and a lot of growth. Not all positive, especially in the areas of safety and cleanliness that directly impact us as homeowners. So as a board member, a resident, and a business person in this proposed district, the Rhythm HOA and I strongly support the creation of the Midtown Music Row Business Improvement District. For the last 15 months, we've studied, listened, learned, and worked with the steering team to understand bids from around the country, their benefits, the boundaries, the delivery systems, the budget considerations, and more. And with the support of our community, we believe that the creation of a bid is the best sustainable, high-impact, long-term solution for the high-density, mixed-use, residential, and entertainment community we live and work in. A bid also allows us to participate as partners with Metro on decisions and solutions that support the pillars of our community that include education with Belmont and Vanderbilt, healthcare, and of course, the music industry. Without dedicated resources and the private funding, we fear a steady and continued decline of Midtown. There is so much potential. We hope we will have the support of the Metro Council, including the Budget and Finance Committee, to move forward. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next on the list, we have Mr. Charles Couture speaking on, in regard to Bill 2025-1113 in support, and my apologies if I've mispronounced your name. You're recognized.
Oh, thank you. No, you said it correctly. Hi, my name is Charles Couture, and I am here tonight representing First Service Residential, a property management company who represents the majority of homeowners in the proposed improvement district along Demumbrian and Division Street. We strongly support the creation of this district. We believe it is not just an opportunity, but a critical and necessary investment in the sustained health and future of this neighborhood, and by extension, the city of Nashville. Before moving here, I had the pleasure of serving on two highly successful business improvement districts in New York City, the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership and the 6th Avenue Association. In those roles, I witnessed firsthand the profound and tangible work that bids can accomplish. They are true engines for quality of life enhancements, allowing them to focus on services that complement the work already being done by Metro Nashville. These districts transform walkability and strengthen the multimodal experience, drive economic stability, and probably most crucial for the residents, directly contribute to the preservation of their home and surrounding areas. The MBID proposal offers Nashville the chance to implement a proven model of success. It will allow all of us to create a cleaner, safer, and more attractive environment for everyone, our residents, our local businesses, and the visitors who enjoy our amazing community every day. On behalf of the homeowners we represent, I urge you to recognize the value of this investment and vote in favor of this initiative. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. All right, thank you to everyone that came out to speak. That concludes our public comment period. Moving on to the consent agenda, I'm going to read the items that are on consent. If anything needs to come off, if you could raise your hand and I will recognize you. Items on consent are Resolution 2025-1627, 1628, 1629, 1630, 1631, 1632, 1633, 1634, 1635, 1636, 1638, 1639, 1640, 1641, 1642, 1645, 1646, 1647, 1648, 1649, 1650, 1654, Bill 2025-1119, and Bill 2025-1120. Is there anything that needs to come off of consent? Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a few questions. RS 2025-1627, 1635, 1638, 1641, and 1643. 27, 35, 38, 41, 43.
Is there
Covering for
anything you,
Councilmember Suara.
you had enough for both of you today? Anything else needs to come off of consent? Councilwoman Porterfield.
Thank you, Chair. Agenda item number 4, RS 2025-1628.
Is there anything else that needs to come off of consent? Hearing none, can I get a motion? Oh, I need to read the captions. That is correct. Thank you. I knew something seemed a little weird. Thank you. All right, item number 5, Resolution 2025-1629, Toombs, Horton, Huffman, and others. Resolution approving the 7th Amendment to a grant contract for constructing affordable housing approved by Resolution 2017-965 between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Affordable Housing Resources. Resolution 2025-1630, Toombs, Hill, and Spain. Resolution accepting the terms of a cooperative purchasing master agreement with Cambridge Systematics, Inc. for consultancy services for the General Services Department. Resolution 2025-1631, Toombs, Huffman, Allen, and others. Resolution appropriating a total of $221,000 from a certain account of the Community Safety Fund for grants to various nonprofit organizations for community safety programs. Resolution 2025-1632, Toombs, Huffman, Allen, and others. Resolution appropriating a total of $563,908 from the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health, to Meharry Medical College and approving a grant contract by and between the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health and Meharry Medical College for the provision of food assistance, medical case management, mental health services, outpatient services, psychosocial services, and outreach services for participants in the Ron White Part A program. Resolution 2025-1633, Toombs, Huffman, Bradford, Gadd, and others. Resolution appropriating a total of $19,200 from the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to Music City Prep Clinic and approving a grant contract by and between the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health and Music City Prep Clinic for the provision of outreach services, early intervention services, medical case management, non-medical case management, emergency financial assistance, medical transportation, food bank, housing services, and referral services for participants in the Ryan White Part A program. Resolution 2025-1634, Toombs, Huffman, Allen, Gadd, and others. Resolution appropriating a total of $276,202 from the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to We Are the One Recovery, and approving a grant contract by and between the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health and We Are One Recovery for the provision of early intervention services, housing services, mental health services, psychosocial services, and transportation services for participants in the Ryan White Part A program. Item number 12, Resolution 2025-1636, Toombs, Huffman, Gadd, and others. A resolution approving an Amendment 1 to a particulate matter ambient monitoring network grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to assist with the necessary development, establishment, and maintenance of adequate monitoring programs for the prevention and control of air pollution in Nashville, Tennessee. Item number 15, Resolution 2025-1639, Taylor, Toombs, Vogt, Allen, and others. Resolution accepting a grant from the Centennial Park Conservancy to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation to provide funding to be added to existing funds for future Parthenon conference-related expenses. Resolution 2025-1640, Taylor Toombs, Vo, and Gad. Resolution approving Amendment 1 to a grant from the Centennial Park Conservancy to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation to provide funding for educational conferences, travel, and other related expenses for Parthenon staff. Resolution 2025-1642, Toombs, Huffman, Gad, and Hill, and others. Resolution approving an application for a Violent Crime Intervention Fund grant from the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration, Office of Criminal Justice Programs to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan and Nashville Police Department to provide funding to eligible local law enforcement agencies to develop and implement proven public safety strategies to combat violent crime and to develop, construct, or rehabilitate infrastructure. Item number 21, Resolution 2025-1645, Toombs, Evans, Siegel, Allen, Hill, and others. A resolution approving Amendment Number 2 to a sole source agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and Vanderbilt University for partner services for a strengthening mobility and revolutionizing transportation grant from the United States Department of Transportation. Resolution 2025-1646, Toombs, Evans, Siegel, Allen, Gad, and others. Resolution approving an application for a healthy and sustainable communities grant from the U.S. Conference of Mayors to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Nashville Department of Waste Services to rethink waste management, expand services available to residents, and improve related environmental and human health challenges by providing free curbside compost collection to 750 households included in the food scrap pickup program. Resolution 2025-1647, Toombs, Evans, Siegel, and Spain. Resolution approving a grant between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and DJ Schubeck Company to provide Moino products and parts for the Department of Water and Sewerage Services. Resolution 2025-1648, Toombs, Evans, Siegel, and Spain. Resolution approving Amendment 1 to a contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and the TDH Company LLC for the provision of Duperon, Enviromix, Xylem Sanitaire, and Shand and Jers products, parts, and services for the Central Water Reclamation Facility. Resolution 2025-1649, Toombs, Evans, Siegel, and Spain. Resolution approving Amendment 2 to a contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and Southern Sales Company, a division of Tencarver Machinery. Resolution 2025-1650, CAP, Toombs, Evans, Siegel, Allen, and Gad. Resolution approving an application for a healthy and sustainable communities grant from the U.S. Conference of Mayors to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through Metro Water Services to complete a solar project at the Shelby Park Pump Station to help grow Metropolitan Nashville's portfolio of solar assets and reduce the city's reliance on traditional energy sources. Resolution 2025-1654, Toombs and Spain. Resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the property damage claim of Charlie Rodriguez against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $32,710.71, with said amount to be paid out of the self-insured liability fund. Bills on second reading, item number 30, Bill 2025-1119. Greg Toombs, Horton, Evans, Siegel, and others, an ordinance approving a greenway conservation easement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County through the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreations and Riverwalk at Mill Creek Homes Association Incorporated for greenway improvements at 700B Mill Creek Meadow Drive. Bill 2025-1120, Harrell, Toombs, Horton, Evans, Siegel, Vo, and others, an ordinance approving a greenway conservation easement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County through the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation and D.R. Horton, Inc. for greenway improvements at 4399 Maxwell Road. Is there anything that needs to come off of consent? Now, can I get a motion? Been properly moved and seconded. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. And all right, going back to the items that were not on consent. Item number 1, Resolution 2025-1533, Toombs, Huffman, Benton, and others. Resolution approving a Homeland Security Grant Program application from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Office of Emergency Management to fund efforts to prevent, prepare for, protect against, and respond to acts of terrorism and other catastrophic events. Can I get a motion? It's been properly moved and seconded. All right. All right. There is a request that this be deferred until December 16th. Can I get a motion? It's been properly moved and seconded that we defer item number 1, Resolution 2025-1533, to December 16th. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. All right, item number 2, Resolution 2025-1534, Toombs, Huffman, Benton, and others. Resolution approving an Urban Area Security Initiative grant application from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Office of Emergency Management to fund costs related to enhancing security and the resilience of high-risk urban areas by building, sustaining, and improving capabilities to prevent, prepare for, protect against, and respond to acts of terrorism. There's also a request to defer this to December the 16th. It's been properly moved and seconded to defer item number 2, Resolution 2025-1534, to December 16th. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. Item number 3, Resolution 2025-1627, Toombs and Spain. Resolution amending Resolution RS 2015-1417 as heretofore supplemented and amended to extend the duration of the water and sewerage revenue extendable commercial paper program of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, and to increase the size of said water and sewer revenue extendable commercial paper program from a maximum aggregate principal amount not to exceed $200 million to a maximum aggregate principal amount not to exceed $300 million. Can I get a motion? It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councilwoman Allen.
Yes, ma'am. I had a couple of questions on this. So my understanding, the commercial paper program has been very successful in allowing us to draw money on a short-term, low-interest rate, and then when the time is right to issue bonds, then we can time it to our benefit, which is good. My questions are, as we increase this amount of short-term debt that we take on, does that affect our fund reserve? And do we typically pay it off in the 90 days that gets us the lowest interest rate?
Second answer first, yes.
You're recognized.
And then the other, I'm sorry, Amanda Deatonware, Department of Finance. So yes, we do pay it off within the 90 days. It gets us the lowest interest rate. And then as it affects our fund reserve, the department, the enterprise fund of the water department has a reserve that actually sits outside of this process, and we maintain that, and we have to do it by a bond covenant and a number of other reasons.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. Item number 4, Resolution 2025-1628, Toombs, Vogad, and others. Resolution authorizing the transfer and use of a certain appropriation in the fiscal year 2026 operating budget ordinance for the benefit of the Nashville Office of Entertainment. Can I get a motion? It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Porterfield?
Thank you, Chair. I just had some clarifying questions. After reading through the legislation, it wasn't clear to me what the funds are going to be used for. Are these going to be used to hire a director for this office? And who makes the decisions on like how the funding is spent? Is this going to be the commission? And does the commission have the autonomy to spend the funds on anything, or is it just certain things they could spend the funds on?
Deputy Director Wiggins?
Thank you, Chair. Mary Jo Wiggins, Finance. So when we transfer the funds to the department, it does give a little bit more flexibility because the director then, and also the commission can then work with OMB to reallocate. The funds are currently in the admin account identified for compensation and benefits. So that allows the director to get hired. And then if all those funds are not used in comp and benefits, which it's anticipated they won't be, then they can work with the Office of Management and Budget to reallocate some of that within line items, which is very similar to the other departments.
Councilwoman Porterfield?
Thank you. So just for clarity, because there's not a director currently, so who would make the decisions on what the funds can be used for?
Well, the commission will be hiring the director, and then based on approval by the mayor, and so then the director will be in place, and then the funds can be spent.
Perfect. So the funds can only be used to fund the position of the director and their benefits, that the funds cannot be used for anything else?
No, they can be, departments have a lot of flexibility within their budget to reallocate from line items. So currently the line item is for compensation and benefits. That can, in partnership, be reallocated to other expenses. And I believe that commission can do that as well as the director.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. Item number 11, Resolution 2025-1635, Toombs, Huffman, Bradford, and others. Resolution approving amendments 2 and 3 to a grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through Metropolitan Board of Health, to provide for the prevention, surveillance, diagnosis, and treatment of HIV/AIDS, and to administer a Minority AIDS Initiative program. Can I get a motion? It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Allen?
Thank you. Just a quick, my understanding is that we're increasing this from 857,000 up to 2.1 million and then up to 2.5 and now up to 4.7. Is that, am I on the right one, 1635? That was the one I had the question on.
It's
Yes, okay.
1635, yeah.
So my question was, is that money that's being reallocated from some other program, or are we just getting more grants?
Administration. Health. Is there someone from Health Department here? You could introduce yourself and you're recognized.
Kristen Zach, Department of Health. Hi. Not being allocated from other programs, I think it has to do with the federal government giving allocations in more of a piecemeal.
Anything else, Councilwoman Allen? All right, is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. Item number 13, Resolution 2025-1637, Toombs, Huffman, Gadd, and others. Resolution approving Amendment 1 to an Air Pollution Control Program Support Grant from the United States Environmental Protection Agency to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health, for the ongoing collection of data on ambient air concentrations for fine particulate matter in Nashville, Tennessee. Can I get a motion? It's been properly moved and seconded. Councilwoman Allen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move the substitute.
Can I get a
Brief
second?
explanation.
I'll get a second and then we'll go back to you, Councilwoman Allen, for an explanation.
Thank you. This is part of a pair of resolutions we get every couple of months, and it's great that we are monitoring our air. The second one, the description is just wrong because it's not just about particulate matter. And so this just changes the language to for monitoring and various other activities to reduce or control air pollutants. And that matches what the description of the grant is. So that's all.
All right, any additional discussion on the substitute? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion passes. Can I get a motion on the resolution as substituted? It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the resolution as substituted. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. All right, item number 14, Resolution 2025-1638, Gadd, Toombs, Vo, and others. Resolution accepting an in-kind grant from the McCabe Park Little League to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Nashville Parks and Recreation Department for a new batting cage at McCabe Park to provide each baseball field access to a batting cage. Can I get a motion? It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Only because I got burned once thinking a batting cage was a fence. So I just want to make sure this is a fence and not a building.
Anyone from Parks and Recreation? If you could introduce yourself and you're recognized.
Sure. Kevin Roten, Metro Parks. Councilmember Allen, I'll just read kind of from the grant what it says. It provides installation of a new batting cage. So a batting cage, I don't know if you know what a batting cage is, where you go out there and Yeah, it's being used for the league. They're going to do the installation, all the expenses, maintenance cost, and the value of the grant is about $29,000. And so they're going to install it and do everything for the league out there. So that's what it is.
I think that's great. Move approval.
All right, is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. Item number 17, Resolution 2025-1641, Toombs in Spain. Resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claims with Joseph Towns against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $100,000, and that said amount to be paid out of the self-insured liability fund. Can I get a motion? Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Often when we do these, I ask what kind of repercussions there were for a Metro vehicle having an accident with the pedestrian or whatever. And I just wanted to thank Parks for saying that they are creating a training and discipline matrix, and that they have worked hard to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And I think that's a good stewardship of our funding.
Thank you, Councilwoman Allen. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. Item number 19, Resolution 2025-1643, Toombs, Huffman, and Spain. Resolution accepting the terms of a cooperative purchasing master agreement with MBF Industries, Inc. for law enforcement vehicles that are manufactured for a special purpose and attachments for the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department. Can I get a motion? Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councilwoman
This is
Allen?
my last one. We do a number of these every time, and usually they, or in the past, they have said it's about this size contract and we will save about this much. And it seems like this agenda, we did not have that extra information about how much we could save. So I'd just like to make the request that that be a standard part of the information that we get. And if someone's got information on how much we're going to save on this, I'd love to know. That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, any additional discussion? Councilwoman Porterfield.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Allen. I heard that we're going to look it up. Do we know, are we going to get that like before tomorrow or okay. Thank you. Just wanted the clarity.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any additional discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. All right, item number 20, Resolution 2025-1644, Toombs, Huffman, and Spain. Resolution approving an application for the statewide School Resource Officer Program grant from the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security for the placement of school resource officers in schools for continued efforts to establish and maintain safe and secure learning environments for eligible schools K through 12 public schools and public charter schools. Can I get a motion? It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. Item number 28 under bills on second reading, Bill 2025-1063, Toombs, Evans, Siegel, and Spain. Ordinance amending certain sections and subsections of Chapter 2.62, Chapter 12.56, and Title 13 in the Metropolitan Code of Laws to modify fees charged by the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure and make various other changes. Okay, there's a request to defer this until January the 20th? To January. It's been properly moved and seconded to defer to January the 20th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Any opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. Item number 29, Bill 2025-1113, Coopin, Cash, and Allen, an ordinance amending Title II of the Metropolitan Code of Laws authorizing the creation of a Midtown Central Business Improvement District and appointing a corporation to act as an advisory board to the district with the necessary powers and authority to carry out the purposes and intent of the district. Can I get a motion? been properly moved and seconded. Councilman Coopin, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to everyone who came and spoke on this bill. I wanted to give some context, and I will be asking a committee member to move for a one-meeting deferral before we finish. But as you heard, there are a deep amount of community stakeholders that have been meeting for over a year, working on this, working to take what we learned over the summer, take the challenges and concerns that you even heard that were shared today, and work on that. I agree with Mr. Ryder that it's important to make time and space for the public to engage. And this deferral will hopefully allow us to do that. My understanding is it is a bill that is amendable on third reading. That being said, I'd prefer to get it right second reading versus third, but that gives us both the first and second meeting in December for amendments to work on this language, which I'm certainly open to. I know I've had some conversations on some concerns and how we can better quantify language to address those. The other piece that I think is important to highlight is the incredibly prescriptive and yet vague state law that dictates business improvement district creation. So you'll remember from the summer that a third reading and a public hearing have to be held more than 30 and less than 45 days from the first reading. So this is something that the most amount of legislative time of a business improvement district creation is 45 days. So that's not something that I get to pick. That's just how the state law reads. But again, my phone is open, my email's open, would love to meet with folks. I've been doing Zooms and doing meetings with different community members, people that have reached out. We've already sent out a mailer before we filed to all of the property owners in the bid. We've reached out to renters that are in the bid. We've reached out to businesses. So folks that have concerns or questions or language that they would like to see in it, again, I welcome feedback and conversation. I think this is something that, again, for Demonbreun Street and Division Street, that the surrounding areas, people really want it. I think it's going to be an incremental way to benefit the neighborhood, address some of the concerns that the neighbors are sharing, and continue to build our city. So with that, open to discussion and conversation, but would also like a one-meeting deferral at the end of that.
It's been properly moved and seconded for a one-meeting deferral. Any discussion on the one-meeting deferral? Councilwoman Evans Siegel.
Thank you, Chair. I just would like to throw this out since we're deferring it as something that I think would be helpful to look at. I generally think bids can be really helpful because there are parts of the city that require an enormous amount of money to operate the level of services needed, and it's really unfair to put that burden on the county as a whole when that extra burden can be placed on the residents and businesses in the area. But I do think there are concerns around security. Midtown is frankly significantly safer today than it has been, I think, in my entire life. It's not just the crime stats, it's the actual lived experience of those of us who live in and adjacent to Midtown. I would note that Midtown already has a second police force in Midtown. VUPD is a fully functional police force. They are valued members of the community, and they do a really good job with the particular needs of Midtown, which is that it is both more urban and in many ways younger than a lot of the city. You've got a lot of 20-somethings in Midtown, a lot of college kids in Midtown who don't need to be, say, arrested for a house party, but they may need help talking to their parents about what they're doing when they're breaking the law. And VUPD has a long history of working well with the community to address public safety needs without over-enforcement. And so I would encourage my colleague to do a little digging into that and see what we could do on this bid to maybe reduce the bid's ability to engage in private security, given the additional security that already exists in Midtown as a fully deputized and functioning police force that is a valued part of our Midtown ecosystem.
Councilwoman Ellis.
Thank you, Chair, for acknowledging me, even though I'm not on the committee. So I have two questions here. The first one being about the previous bids that we haven't gotten the financials on. Since this is just deferred one meeting, is the expectation that we'll get the financials from the other three bids that are in place so that we'll know the exact revenues on those?
Councilman Cooper, you have a response?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that question. Actually, I have an email drafted that I was going to send out. I don't know if Metro Legal can either opine now or opine before the next meeting on the requirements of the, let me back up for a second. Going forward, the bid language that we have clearly addresses that issue and make sure that the bid presents to Metro Council for a vote their budget. So going forward, this should be handled in the legislation. Retroactive to catch back up. I'd wonder if Metro Legal either now or prior to next meeting could provide an opinion on what's needed or what we need to catch up or where we are in that process.
Is that something that Metro Legal can respond to? Can you say that on the mic? Thank you.
Sure. Macy Amos from Metro Legal. I mean, that's not something that I have the answers to right now. This is not an administration filed bid program. I can certainly look into it. I don't know if I'll have an answer before tomorrow night, but I can ask.
And thank you. And then to clarify, that would be before the next meeting, first week of December meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was not a 24-hour question.
I appreciate that, Councilman.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Ellis?
Yep. So the second part of my question is bringing about the vagueness that you had initially recognized, Councilmember Coupin, is in the annual budget section, it says there at the end of section B, included but not limited to Metro government parking garages. So are you anticipating more revenue from parking garages, or is what you guys are estimated included in that 1.5?
Councilmember Coupin?
Thank you, and great questions from my colleague, really appreciate it. That one actually stood out to me as well. We, in the initial drafting of this, took the state law language and put it in, but one of the things I'm looking at and welcome feedback from members of the public and colleagues is how to maybe tighten up some of that language to be more prescriptive to what this business improvement district is looking to do. I don't believe there's any intent to build and or generate revenue from a parking garage on those two streets. So perhaps that's something that gets removed. And again, anything on that kind of list of services, I know I've been working with the council office on a couple of them to be more specific as to what rights are being granted. But parking garages is not something that's on the list for this district at this time.
Anything additional, Councilwoman
Yeah,
Ellis?
so I would just add in the financial documents that we get back from the other bids that are out there, could we specifically get, an indication of how much revenue, if any, is being collected from a Metro asset, which is a parking garage?
I'll go back to you, Councilman Coupin, but Councilwoman Johnston is in the queue.
Thank you, Chair. And I would draw the distinction that the parking garage downtown and the downtown partnership managing it and is a Metro to that entity contract that is, though the same operator, is a separate pathway and financial reporting requirement from the bid itself. My understanding, and happy to fact check it or have finance fact check me, perhaps before the December 4th meeting, my understanding is that that at some point about 2 decades ago, there was some decision made that the bid budget was not going to come in full form to council, but just be added to the budget book as a line item. I think the discussion over the summer highlighted that that's not what we wanted and that we want to see the full budget for approval. But that line item has been there. And again, would welcome more information and can work on that for the next meeting.
Councilwoman Johnston?
Thank you. I'm just wondering if the administration has a position on this bid, just in general, but since this was obviously his district 2 years ago, he probably has some pretty good insights.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, the administration does not have a position on it.
Any additional discussion? We have a 1 meeting deferral on the floor that's been properly moved and seconded. Councilwoman Porterfield.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. I want to stand and second the concerns or thoughts that were lifted up by my colleague to my right here, Council Lady Evan Siegel, and just something that kind of bubbled up as Councilmember Ellis was speaking and Councilmember Coupin was speaking. one thing that may be helpful if the sponsor would be willing to consider it is thinking through what the intention of the bid is and maybe limiting the legislation to the direct intention of the bid. And I think that that may be a little more helpful to address some of the concerns from council members and concerns from individuals in the community. So instead of having it more open and wide, just really restricting it to what that they like. If they want to do beautification, restricting it to beautification as opposed to including things like security if that's not their intent. So would love for and the sponsor does not have to respond to that, but just something for the sponsor to consider.
Any additional discussion? All right, again, it's been properly moved and seconded to defer Bill 2025-1113 for one meeting. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Any not voting or abstaining? Motion carries. That concludes the agenda. Meeting adjourned.